All right, welcome back to Pathways Towards Wholeness. I'm going to rename this uh,
Totally.
through Setting Sun. So I'm here with Michelle. Welcome.
Hi. Hi. Yeah, I'm so glad to be here. I love our conversations. I love the time that we can share and sort of explore different ideas and themes. And, what's been coming up for me, especially in the turn of the year, is kind of both looking back on what I've learned and what we've sort of explored and worked on in this past year, and things that are coming up, and offerings and things that we want to sort of achieve or vision for the new year. So that's what I've been thinking about.
Nice. And I see that you might have a vision board in the back there.
I know. I set that up so we can have like sort of the energy of it. Yeah.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Well, yeah, maybe let's jump in and talk about 2017 and maybe some lessons or challenges that we've learned or encountered.
hmm hmm For me, I think starting practicum in the summer. So I've been in practicum for 2 semesters. So I have one more semester, my final semester at CIS, in ICP, in interval counseling. I think it's been really developing that balance between self-care and other care. And I know we've done a Zoom cast on self-care, but it really comes to the surface when, you're working with clients regularly, or like for you, doing the podcast and the Teachable, really finding that balance, so something for me has really been around that. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, learning just how to take care of yourself in the midst of the chaos. It's hard.
hmm
It's hard to do.
It is to really carve out that time,
Hmm.
and say, no, I'm going to put it in the schedule, and I'm going to go for a walk in the redwoods, or I'm going to go to the beach, or I'm going to, take a salt bath, whatever I need to do. It's like I have to do that for myself, so I
Yeah,
can be there for my clients.
I've been finding that I think like in the entrepreneurial world, in like a lot of podcasts that I listen to, they talk about like just putting it on the calendar to do those things. I think that's been really helpful. I don't always do it, but I got in the habit of saying like I'm gonna mark out like this time of that day to do this.
Exactly.
And I think that's really important just to I think it's the only way to really carve it out is to
hmm
kind of like write it down or put it on a calendar just so like it's there and you make it a priority.
Exactly, just like we would for supervision or for a class or something like that. It's like, yes, self-care needs to be on there. um, Yeah, so that's been, and sustainability, I think, is another key word for me. Definitely like having Fritjof Capra in our, Gnosis community, and he talks a lot about systems theory and the systems view of life, and really how it's like we're this interconnected network, right, of vitality and energy, and we're connected to the earth and all of that. And so it makes me think about like, how are we sustainable in our lives, and
Mm,
that's something that has come up a lot for me in 2017 as
yeah.
well.
And who is Capra?
He is the author of The Tao of Physics, and he just did a talk on his some amazing conversations he had with R.D. Lang.
Mm.
We just had a great event with him, and then he's doing the next salon on Saturday. It's great to be a part of a community that's working towards another type of sanctuary.
And he's a
As
physicist, right?
exactly,
Yeah. Cool.
yeah. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I think for me too, self-care has been like a really important thing this year, and sustainability, just trying to, just doing all this stuff all the time. Like, I think being like really independent, going to a grad school, it's all online, not much of
Yeah.
a in-person community, doing a podcast, like literally all my web work it's just sitting on the computer all the time, and just trying to figure out like what's important, where to focus my energy on, creating a schedule. I mean, I think that's been like one of the most challenging things. It's like when you have like all this kind of like no schedule to actually sit down and carve that out and be like, okay,
hmm
what do I have to do today? It's
Exactly.
sometimes really like, it sounds really appealing. You're like, oh man, like free days to do whatever. It's like, no, you have to kind of treat it like a job. It's like, okay, I got to do this today, and really schedule things out.
Exactly. You know, and it sounds like it's complex too to be doing a lot of online work to be able to get the in-person support. I know you've been going to different like yoga studios and different like healing centers and stuff, and doing a few events in that way. And I'm sure that hopefully is resourcing in terms of being with people and doing what you love with setting sun and stuff too.
Yeah, that's definitely a goal of mine in 2018, is to do more in-person work, or to do like more online stuff, but also to really do a lot more in-person work, a lot more breath work, and maybe get like a study group or something together. Because yeah, I mean, we're humans, right? We need human connection, and doing it in the online environment all the time, you don't, like, you get it, but not really. I mean, connecting on Zoom or whatever, it's great, but it's something else to be among people and doing the work in person.
Exactly. To have had to have both. My two classes this fall were also online, and so I finally, and it's actually the first time I had online classes, so I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't know what that would be like, and it was challenging for me because I am, such a people person. Being so used to it, being in classes with people at a certain time of every week or whatever. And so, yeah, I have a lot more sort of empathy and understanding for what the online environment is like, especially with topics that really do tend to bring up a lot interpersonally, and really, need support around. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so I think both in person and online options are good. Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say, like, what's one of the biggest challenges that you encountered in 2017?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like it probably comes up in terms of um, really being as sensitive as I am, and being as open as I am, and really being able to refuel
Mm,
and recharge. And being in those spaces with, especially working with spiritual emergence or with trauma, they talk about vicarious trauma, things like that. I'm working with my own healing process and the parallel process that comes up when clients are working on stuff that we've also worked on or that's close to our heart. And so I think, yeah, it comes back to how do I really refuel and receive? Because I think the giving and receiving channel is the same channel. And it's, for me, it feels like it's really coming from the heart. And so when I'm sitting with clients all day or whatever, and it's like I need to remind myself to receive that love from the universe, or from, support networks, from my supervisor, from my therapist, from my friends, soul family, whatever.
mm.
So just remembering that in breath, when there's so much of the giving and the out breath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess it comes back to balance again.
Balance. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. What about for you? What would you say that your most challenging lesson was during
I'd
this time?
say along the same lines of giving and receiving, um, and like giving, but not always getting. I always hate to come back to the financial piece, but
Mm-hmm.
it's been trouble,
Mm-hmm.
being in grad school and trying to balance all this stuff, and starting like a podcast platform in business, and yeah, you don't see the return right away, but I know it's coming down the line. And so constantly always just putting things out there, and because even in like the online world of doing my online grad school, it's like some of the feedback I get from my teachers sometimes it isn't even there. You do all this work and then you get like nothing back. You're like, what the
Mm-hmm.
fuck?
Mm-hmm.
Versus like being in person where you're having a relationship and you're probably getting it more. Um,
Yeah.
which is, I think, why I want to focus to start doing more in-person stuff, just yeah, for that connection with people.
Yeah.
But yeah, it definitely, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, my Saturn finally wrapped up in the summer. So my Saturn return kind of came to an end, and Saturn's moving forward. And I mean, that's just been probably the biggest challenge of the past 2 or 3 years.
Mhm.
Just working with that Saturn energy and trying to keep it all together in the chaos and not let it completely destroy me. And
Mhm.
just try to be intuitive and tap into what it's trying to teach me, which is
Exactly.
a lot about letting go and building foundations, and which I feel like I'm doing, working on a
Yes.
grad degree, building a platform and a business, and doing all this stuff where you're in the dirt, just really doing it. And then
Mhm.
you get tunnel vision sometimes, because you don't see the reward right away. And so I think that's been challenging. And part of the
Yeah.
Saturn stuff has just been living environment. Like my living environment definitely hasn't been I don't know, the best. I mean, I'm thankful that I have a living situation, but yeah, no, it's just been like really difficult and challenging. So I feel like that's put a damper on my self-worth in the sense. A lot of
Mhm.
old childhood stuff coming up, and
Yeah.
negative thought patterns. Like I feel like I'm a teenager again, which is
Mm.
really, really terrible.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
I was like thinking the other day, I'm like, man, I haven't had these feelings since I was like a teenager. And maybe it's just like back in hometown, old
Mm.
traumas and relationships and wounds coming to the surface, wanting
Yeah.
to be healed. And
Yes.
so it's been really challenging on that front to like sit in all this like old wound stuff and constricted environment, like going back to like the breath work realm. It really feels like a BPM too. Like
Yes.
the walls are closing in, cervix isn't open, you're just
Yeah.
stuck. It's a hell realm.
No exit.
so
Yeah.
so that's literally what my year has been like, just been stuck in this hell realm, which
Mhm.
feel like it's like opening up and I'm moving out of it. But it's been challenging. Like I was looking back at like all the stuff I was doing before Saturn hit, and I felt like I was at the peak. I was like doing stuff for Wanderlust, I was doing
Mhm.
this, I was doing that, I was like doing so many workshops in Burlington with my buddies,
Mhm.
and everything just kind of collapsed. Saturn was like no more.
Mhm.
And so yeah, it's been challenging to kind of be alone in that, and to
Yeah.
maybe not have like all that support that I've had living in like a healing community where you know there's there's a lot of healing going on all the time.
Exactly. Yeah. Saturn's lessons are sometimes really intense, right? They're long game, and they're that sort of isolation and the kind of crushing down to the essence, the core of yourself, and then building from there. And so this new manifestation that you're creating from the foundation is going to be authentic. It's going to be sustainable, and it's going to, bring you into the place that you want to be, moving forward. And but it is not easy. I
No.
know. I know.
No.
Oh my gosh, what a strict teacher, right?
Yeah, it makes me want to just like provide support for people just strictly in this situation. Actually have a friend that's going through a similar Saturn transit. I don't know what their houses are or where Saturn is, but
Yeah,
just what they were telling me the other day of just being completely broken down, beaten up, and just feeling like taking so many steps backwards
yeah,
and not even having the motivation or confidence to do what they're meant to do.
yeah.
It's like Saturn just like beats that out of you sometimes, where it's like what you're made of, and then he's just like, nope, like you're worthless, and you're like, what?
The
Yeah.
crushing into a pulp. Yeah, no, I think that's for me. A lot of my Saturn. I mean, my spiritual emergence was a lot of Saturn, Saturn Uranus, and on my T square, which basically was like the core, like I would say the structural integrity of my wounding. And so I feel like, there's especially the, Saturn and the outer planets when there are transits, it's like it's, and, and when Rick and Stan did their work together, talking about spiritual emergence and archetypal astrology, I think they would find that there's so many ways that these transits like really are inducing or collaborating, right, on a spiritual level with these spiritual emergence processes, and in fact, probably energizing them. And so I feel like that's, that sounds like, in a way, this is another, just like, your near death experience, this is another type of initiation that you've been going through.
It really has been. And it feels like I have been in like complete spiritual emergence. Like I'm just, I guess, good at trying to keep it together. But it's been weird not having like my tools. And I was thinking about that last night of like, wait, like I've done so much healing work, but sometimes they feel really ineffective right now. And or I don't just have that container. Like I haven't done breath work, and I mean I have my own breath work practice, and I
Mhm.
do little breath work things, but I haven't been able to do a full-on workshop by myself, and I don't even know, maybe going on like a year and a half, 2 years.
Mhm.
And like, and I can do some like drumming and journey work and meditation, which I've been doing a lot of, but
Mhm.
it doesn't feel it's it's interesting to be able to have a container and have
Mhm.
somebody else hold that for you as well.
Yes,
So
exactly.
not being able to go to a retreat and do a 3 hour breath work for the weekend where I'm not a facilitator or a helper, it's been challenging, because there's a lot of stuff constantly bottling up. I'm like, I just want to like breathe and let it go. And
Mhm.
um, I think if I
Clear.
had the space to do it by myself, I would. But just being in a house of full of people, and if I turn the music on loud and start crying and screaming, I think I might freak some
Mhm.
people out.
Right, and you still want the support. You still want, the sitter. You still want the people, the facilitators coming around, walking the floor and helping you move stuff. So that's the piece about the balance, right? About the
Yeah.
receiving. It's like receiving those healing opportunities. And I think maybe one of the visions for 2018 could be, you participating more in, journey work and healing sessions and things like that, as well as giving them,
Hmm.
so an intention of, being able to go to breath works and do them as well as facilitate them, or other types of meditations and journeys and things.
Yeah. Okay. So let's hop into visions and goals and whatnot for the new year.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. Thank you. First of all, thank you so much for sharing, because every time I speak with you, I'm always so inspired by and I'm going to probably start crying just because it's so moving,
Thank
like your
you.
resiliency, in the midst of that crushing feeling, that you're still putting stuff out and you're still like showing up, for all your interviews and for the teachable and everything, and for your classes. And um, it just it gives hope for those of us who are, trying to be of service to people who are struggling, that we can get on the other side of it and be of service. So thank
Thank you.
you
I
for
appreciate
sharing
that.
that. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna take a breath.
Yeah, no, no, thank you. That's sorry, making me tear up too.
Yeah, and I feel really grateful for our collaboration over the years, and I look forward to more of that, both online and in person. I had visions when I was up in Sedona of us, doing drumming up there, someday, whether it's in 2018, 2019, 2020, who knows? It's going to be when it's going to be. And I trust that. I trust the divine timing of it.
When we're finished up at
Um,
grad school.
right. When we graduate. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, more time. Yeah, but just in the sense of having the combination of online offerings and in-person offerings, I feel that as well. When I go up to Guerneville and do workshops up there and meet people and do, to do different events, or if I'm, sitting with clients at the center in San Francisco at Golden Gate, there's really that sense that with the out breath, right, then there's the in breath. And so receiving, healings. And I go to my healers once a month. I go to my therapist every week. I have my supervisor. So I really have a team around me, and not to mention just the team of incarnated beings, but also, our spiritual and divine beings that are supporting us. So just, honoring all the support that I do have, and that, moving forward, that I really want to continue to develop those relationships, and even find new relationships and new communities to collaborate with, and to create more offerings as well.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that's part of my vision.
Yeah, I
And
think
yeah,
2018 should be a nice collaboration year for a lot of folks. I hope.
I think so.
That's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping for a lot more collaboration and bringing more people in, and yeah, just doing a lot of work together. I think it's
Mhm.
important, you know.
Definitely, definitely. Um, yeah, I think one of the things that comes up too in the new year is spending time in nature. And, I have like flowers and trees and stuff on my vision board. That,
Yeah,
I think that's really important. And so I want to, keep doing that, whether I do it on my own or with other people, or, doing some drumming out there, or doing, little ceremonies, things like that. Like that feels like something I want to do more of
yeah.
in 2018.
Are you envisioning a dog too? I just see a little dog
I
behind
am.
your
I can
head.
see all the dogs. It's so interesting because, like, I've been wanting a dog for a long time, and the place that I'm at right now, my lease is up at the end of the summer, and so I feel like, I'm going to be really grateful to enjoy this space while I'm here, and then, like, maybe the next place I live, I'll go somewhere where dogs are allowed, so that I can
Nice.
get a dog finally. So yeah.
Human's best friend. They are really
Mhm.
nurturing.
Definitely, they teach us about unconditional love in a
Hmm.
really good way, and
Yeah.
they're therapeutic,
But
definitely.
they
So,
are.
mhm,
Mm.
yeah. What else for you do you
Mm.
think that you would want to do for
Yeah, like
2018?
I said, I definitely want to get out there and start doing more in-person work and offering breath work. I've been getting some like inquiries about spiritual emergence work, which I want to get more into. And, we've talked about hosting a spiritual emergence online group for folks.
Yes.
I think that's really important to start
Mm-hmm.
moving this work that we do forward. And we put on a really great webinar last month, and we had some good attendance and really great people ask
Yeah.
questions and show up. And I think it really sparked the flame again on wanting to do this work, because it's so important. um,
Mm-hmm.
and I can put that link in the description somewhere, wherever we're posting this. But it's on
Yeah.
settingsunwellness.teachable.com for anybody that wants to check that out. And so, yeah, and I think finding a little bit more balance between like what I'm putting my energy into and what's not really working, and hopefully with that giving also opening up to more receiving. I have a really hard time like marketing myself and
Mm-hmm.
knowing what I can offer or like how to offer it. So I think just becoming like a little bit more confident in that. It's like I just don't know how to really market it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's like part of my problem. It's like I don't want to accept money all the time, or I don't really always want to make these things as flashy as a lot of people make it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been thinking a lot about maybe what I'm interested in and what I do. And
Mm-hmm.
and I guess I do a lot of things, just like you. And I
Yeah.
think at the root of it, I'm coming back to this question that Lenny Gibson asked when we asked about breath work, and it's, are you curious? Are you curious about your relationship to the world? And I think
Mm-hmm.
about the work that I do. I mean, shamanic work is all about relationship. Breath work is about developing a relationship. Even working with like karmic stuff or spiritual emergence stuff, it's all about relationship, right?
Yes.
And so like I'm really thinking about like the stuff that I'm most interested in is helping people develop a relationship with the world. And I
Mm-hmm.
think like that is the crux of psychotherapy, of
Yes.
healing modalities, of everything. This guy, Louis Malmadrona, who wrote a bunch of different books. He's a psychiatrist, and has I think it's Cherokee background.
Mm-hmm.
I got to think about this because I always mess it up. But he said in healing, it's really like 75% is the creator,
Mm.
10% is the relationship that you have with the universe and creator. And the last
Mm-hmm.
5% is just the shaman who tricks you into believing it. Um,
The
and
trickster
the
energy, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And
Mm.
when I think about like all this like different healing work that's going on, I don't know, I'm just not as flashy. I just don't believe in the flashiness of everything. I think just helping people develop a relationship with whatever it is in their life is the most important piece. Um,
Mm.
and because I think about my own healing, it's like that's what it was. Like, yes, somebody was like maybe shifting my energy around or helping me do something, but it's really just helping me dive into myself to understand my relationship with whatever that was, and how do I
Mhm.
develop a relationship? How do I like be in communication with that, or just work with that energy? So I'm thinking a lot of my work now is in relationship
Mm.
work, but
Mhm.
not necessarily partner relationship, but just universal relationship.
Yes, yes, I think that was articulated beautifully. And there's so many different ways that we're in relationship, and that makes a lot of sense. And for me as well, I mean, I'm highly relational, and the work that I do is relational, humanistic, transpersonal. So relationship with the divine, relationship with one another, relationship with ourselves, relationship with the earth. And I feel like the patterns that are recognizable in the ways that we interact have shown themselves to me through both my work as a therapist and as an energy worker, but also in the Akashic record. I find that seeing the patterns over time has been really helpful. It's almost like you can see the patterns over time in the rings of a tree, or in
Mm,
the ways that rivers carve out stone, and I feel in that way that the Akashic gives us a sense of, over time, some of the patterns of these relationships that we're working on, that gives context, and it's really helpful. And so now offering not just individual Akashic sessions, but Akashic sessions with couples. That's the newest phase of my work that has been really phenomenal, because when you can see the interface of these two patterns of work, soul work, that are coming into contact, it's really amazing. And I'm going to also be TAing for couples counseling in the spring, so there's something
nice.
about relationship in that way that's showing up for me too. But I think that, like you said, like it really comes back to the core of relationship to self and creator, right? And to
Hmm.
the universe. And yeah, I feel that too. And I feel like in a way, that's one of the ways that our work, and our collaborations always come together, in the way that we kind of hold the work, as shamanic, as spiritual in essence, and in the interface with the world from that place, from stepping out from the heart, from that grounded place within ourselves. And that really feels aligned. When you
Hmm.
say that, when you describe your work, it really feels heartful. It feels really humble. That's another word. And an integrity. And I think that's like a really good foundation moving forward. Yeah. So
Yeah, thanks. And I don't know too much about the Akashics. I know you did a reading on me one time, and it kind of blew me out of the water because it was so aligned with a lot of themes in my life and a lot of like different experiences that I had with breath work. Could
yeah.
you go in a little bit and describe what that is, and what do you do?
Yes, yeah. This is amazing work. The first time I opened my records was in Sedona. I was taking a class with my teacher, Lisa, and this was in 2009, I believe. Um, and it just stunning, the amount of information that you can receive, looking at the multiple lifetime patterns, like I said. And so basically opening the records, we're actually in conversation, in rapport with the Akashic record keepers. So we're not reading the Akashic directly, we're reading the information that they are providing us. So it's really a relationship once again, right? So it's a relationship with the record keepers. And each one of us has a record keeper, just like each one of us has a guardian angel, right? Along with our other guides and helpers. So, so it's really about if there's an inquiry or if there's something that you're working on in this life that seems to not, not shift, or it seems to be really familiar, or like you go on a trip and you go somewhere and you're like, oh my gosh, I've been here before, and you want to know what that life is or whatever. Or if you have, like I said, a relationship with someone and something's coming up, but it feels deeper than even this life, like you have like karma, like you said, with this person. So it's a way to inquire about past lives, gifts and traumas, clearing traumas, bringing forth past life gifts, and also clearing contracts and updating them. And vows from the past, maybe, for example, one that seems to really resonate with a lot of healers now is the vow of poverty. And, in past lives, maybe when we've been monks or nuns or in various, religious traditions, that we don't have belongings. We don't own anything. We don't own property or material things. We just give everything up and live in a monastery or the ashram or whatever. And so to release the vows that bind us to not having abundance can be really helpful in stepping forward. And even in shamanic communities, right, there were the medicine people that that was their role, and then the community offered support and provided food and things like that. And so there wasn't really a sense of needing to make money per se in these roles of spiritual healers or medicine people. So I think that's something that a lot of us, in especially in this lifetime, are bumping up against when it comes to sustainability. I don't know if that resonates at all for you.
That's really interesting because, I mean, we kind of briefly touched on this topic before starting to record, but I didn't know that was coming up a lot in like the Akashic readings and whatnot for
Definitely.
people. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's a huge topic and it's been on my mind a whole bunch because, I mean, these past few years of like going through this Saturn thing and just starting grad school and working to create like an online business, I feel like I have nothing, which is silly to say, but I mean, to some extent, it's like true of like, wow, like my bank account's completely drained. I'm filled with grads like loans and whatnot. It's kind of ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And just feeling so defeated of like, wow, like I can't believe like this is where I'm at in life. I never expected. And overcoming that, like, I don't know if it's like a fear or whatever, but that fear of accepting money. And
Yeah.
again, coming back to being in relationship with money. It's been
Mm-hmm.
something huge I've been thinking about lately where, yeah, back then, like a chicken and like a cow or whatever you gave to the person for healing was very
Mm-hmm.
useful. I mean, because we all
Mm-hmm.
lived in tribe and community and everybody kind of supported one another. Nowadays,
Yeah.
like, a cow or chicken would be great, but I don't have the means to butcher it and keep it in a freezer, and I don't have a whole community to feed. I mean, I'm sure I could, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, but okay, then where am I gonna like? I don't have rent, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess if I sold the cow, I'd get rent, but
Mm-hmm.
get some money to pay for a roof and whatnot. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's just it's a different world that we're living in now, and it's really hard to, I don't know, like accept that because yeah, some of these old traditional ways people are fighting for it and saying this isn't how it was and this is how it should be. But I've been thinking a lot about it where it's like a lot of people that are in this healing like realm, I feel like are stuck in the past and we're not really living in the now because yeah, that's how it was done. And like I get it, like we need to respect those traditional roots and we need to respect the lineage, but
Definitely.
we're not living in community. Our whole community is not supporting ceremony and healing.
Hmm.
We live in a very individualistic society now where we need to kind of like get money, and we live in a capitalistic society, and it's terrible and I hate it. And I think that's also
Hmm.
like my crux of like not wanting to fall into, oh, I'm selling healing
Yeah.
services or I'm selling
Hmm.
spirituality, because in essence you can't really sell any of that stuff because it comes back to somebody's own relationship with.
Hmm.
um but I'm trying to like view it as an exchange of energy. Like
Yes.
back then, okay, you exchange a chicken or whatever.
Hmm.
Now, I mean, it might be money or Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, whatever that is.
Right. Exactly. It's still an exchange, right? There's
Yeah,
still an exchange. There's still the in breath and the out breath, and it comes back to that. And you know, there's a lot of us that are also feeling that resistance to, you know, the structures, the dominant paradigm structures that are in place right now, because we see how they're limited or how they're potentially harmful, or whatever, or you know, the ways that it doesn't feel aligned. And so we're in this weird transitional time where we, like you said, you feel that history, kind of bumping up against that. And we also feel the future. We feel something beyond patriarchy, beyond capitalism, that is drawing us forward. And but it feels like it's not quite here, and we don't know exactly what that is. Maybe Bitcoin is the future. I don't know.
I don't think
It seems
so,
to,
but
I don't
it
I
could
don't know.
be.
Technology, there's a lot that's happening with technology that also has a shadow side, and also has a light side, just like everything. Um, but I feel like we're definitely in that place. Like, how do we, as practitioners, be sustainable, and really asking for the energetic exchange of what we deserve, whether that is some sort of barter or if it is financial. That in order for us to be able to continue to do what we do, we have to be able to receive also. And I think that this is one way that we do that. And it is, even in the MFT track, there's many hours that are unpaid, that are training hours, in practicum or internship or whatever. And just knowing that the exchange is the training, but that it is, a financial burden, just like, graduate school, or, your credit card debt or whatever, and so it's just like, yeah, we just have to get through this, like the birth canal.
Yeah,
Right.
that's exactly what it feels like, birth canal.
Yeah.
But I think also too, it's to support people in your community to do this stuff is also kind of pushing against those capitalistic models. Yes, you're giving people money, but you're also empowering those in your community. I mean, that was the coolest thing. I mean, Vermont has its ups and downs, but it's very community based. And there's only like maybe one or two Walmarts in the state. Like they're very like anti like big establishment. I mean, granted, there are those, but it kind of comes back to the community.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a lot of poverty up there still, and it doesn't always work of like, oh, I'll trade like some massage for like a breathwork thing where it's like, shit, I gotta rent out this space that costs me like $100.
Hmm.
That'd be great, but as long as I get enough people, then we could talk.
Yeah.
But I don't know, just being able to support one another and support those in your community, I think it really comes back to like the local instead of
Mhm.
supporting these big businesses all the time.
Right, exactly. Local businesses, farmers markets, things like that. I think Berkeley's great about that. I mean, that's one of the things that I love about it, is that there's sort of, these certain, foundational principles, that the entire, city is based on. And that really helps to limit, for example, no plastic bags, no, chains. Well, we have Safeway, but, like not like McDonald's or whatever,
Yeah.
things like that. So I think that feels good to be in a town like that. And yet, even in a town that is based on these principles, it still feels isolated. It still feels like people are doing their own thing, and it's
Yep.
just about, like, getting through the day and paying your own bills and all. It doesn't feel like a community per se in that way.
Right. Yeah.
So I still think that community piece is really huge, and the, like we say in Center for Sacred Studies, is like reciprocity. That's the sort of the law of reciprocity, is like how to support one another. And if you are bartering or whatever, then that the value is balanced and things like that. And however we figure this out, it's going to be something where everybody feels good energetically, through the exchange, that everybody feels seen and heard and responded to, and in a good way. So,
Yeah. And it gets weird. I think about this a lot now, is like we're moving more and more towards automation. And like, what are the jobs going to be in the next 10 to 15 to 20 years? I mean, maybe not
yeah.
everything will be gone in 10 years, but who knows? I mean, it's insane how the cell phone has evolved in 10 years.
Oh,
I think
yeah.
about 10 years ago, I think I had like a flip phone or whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
T9 texting. Maybe I had a keypad by then, but I mean, I didn't have a smartphone then. No, 2008. No, 2008. No, I don't think I had. No, no smartphone. It was just like
No.
a flip phone still.
Yeah.
Um, but it was like a flip phone with a keyboard. It made it really easy.
Yeah.
Um, so
Exactly.
I don't know. Like I always think about this moving into the future of, we have the internet. It's a great tool. It connects a lot of people, and how do we exchange energy to one another? And we have an opportunity to create different hubs and different communities and share resources. That wasn't a thing back, you know, a couple decades ago, where you had to just build a local business and have that sustain you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's just interesting, like, yeah, what is it going to be in like 15, 20 years when maybe everything's automated? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
some surgery could be automated. You got robots like stitching people up and making
Mm-hmm.
incisions and whatnot. It's kind of crazy. So
Mm-hmm.
so
Yeah.
what is money going to be worth when there's all automation? People aren't going to be
Right.
working all the time. Um,
Right. I have this Star Trek vision, just like where, like, through like nanotechnology, we'll actually be able to create food, and everybody will work because they want to and do what they want, and everyone can get along because there'll be peace. And
yeah.
is it idyllic? Yes, but do I believe it's possible? Yes, I do.
Well, I think, like, what you said, people want to work because they want to. I think we're going to be moving more towards some sort of service-based economy where, like, we have something we want to offer and we can do that. Um,
Yeah.
Maybe we're all not farming, I mean, or driving cabs and stuff. Everything might be automated on that sense, but I think the
Mm-hmm.
one thing that can't go away is building human relationships and connection,
Yes.
and offering those types of services. I think they're the services of the future, because the more
Yes.
and more we get involved in technology, the more and more we need relationship and human connection. And
Exactly.
you know,
Yeah. I know, especially like looking at the newer generations now, with the screen time and having phones at such young ages and things like that. And so they're really recognizing, sort of the psychological and emotional, sort of effects of that. And yes, like you said, on the one hand, having technology can connect more people. And like things like this, like Zoom is a great platform for that. That people that are isolated or aren't in a community where people, can talk about, shamanic healing or spiritual emergence or whatever, like they might not have access to that otherwise. So it's amazing. And also on the other hand, there's a lot of people that spend a lot of time alone and don't have the relationships. So I think, yes, definitely being able to offer more online environments where people can come together and share story and get support, is definitely huge. I think it's going to be even more and more important going forward. Yeah.
yeah. And who knows, maybe the future isn't crypto. There's this site called Steam It. It's kind of like Reddit, but you get Steam. And that
Mm.
Steam can convert into dollars, which I think is like really fascinating. So imagine if you had something like Facebook, for every like you get like a fraction of a cryptocurrency. So
Mm.
even by engaging in different online activities, you could start making money, and it kind of comes back
Mm.
to that exchange of energy. It's like, you did something cool. Let me upvote you a fraction of a Steam coin or whatever it is. And, that's kind of giving back. And I wonder, oh, maybe that's the future. Maybe that's how we exchange energy. Is we have this weird cryptocurrency that we've labeled as valuable or worth something,
Mhm.
and now we can just exchange it among people. um
Mm. Mhm.
I don't know. It's the future is going to be very interesting.
It is. It really is. And especially like in the short term, where, especially this last year, it feels like we've gone through some, like you said, sort of Saturnine lessons of, what is right livelihood, what is integrity, what is leadership, for example, what is sustainability and what isn't, right? The shadow of all of these things. And I feel like that's moving forward. I think those are the key words, is having sustainability and integrity and humility. And really, if we build whatever we build, right, from those places, I feel like it's going to be something that's going to be able to be carried forward and be able to be of support to ourselves and to other people.
Yeah,
That's my hope. Yeah.
me too. Yeah, sustainability is interesting, especially in the spiritual community. I just stumbled across this article. I think somebody published it. It was on Yoga Journal, but it was about like how your lavender oil is like killing the environment. But it's like
Mm,
essential oil is a huge business. And I mean, to make what, like rose petal oil, it's like takes, I don't even know, a couple thousand rose petals just to create that. And I think about stuff like that, where like in these communities, these products are very trendy, but also what is it doing to the environment?
right.
I mean, at least lavender is something, you can just grow it, you can have fields of it. But something like maybe like sandalwood tree or some of these like really these trees that take a really long time to grow and whatnot. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Right. Exactly. What is sustainable practice within any healing practice, right? It's like, how do we collect the sage? How do we make the drums? Where do we get the skins? Things like that. Are they, artificial or from animals, and how are they, received, and things like that? And yeah, I mean, there's points at every node along the way that we can sort of upgrade and up level to being more sustainable. And I think that's definitely a goal. Like you said, buying locally, things like that too, whether it's essential oils or tinctures or, whatever, we do choose to use, that we do it mindfully and with, that sort of honoring way. Yeah.
yeah. Or even just learning a little bit more about your local environment ecosystem, because I'm sure there's something there that has similar qualities as something else elsewhere. We just don't know about it, or we
Right.
forgot about it. I remember taking this course with Kat Harrison. It was all on like eco psychology and shamanism, but like every culture had their famine foods and every location had their famine foods. And I mean, do you know your famine foods around your area?
Mm-mm.
I don't think so. Maybe my area, I don't know what would be a famine food. Maybe some sort of tuber,
Mm-hmm.
like cattail tuber.
Mm.
Um, but I'm trying to think. Like I don't really know. Like what are the local wild plants in your ecosystem that can support you, instead
Yeah.
of always having to go to these exotic places to get other things.
Right. Exactly. Local, native, like foraging, things like that, like mushrooms and, different plants and herbs and medicinal plants in our local area. Yeah, that's fantastic. Something definitely worth learning more about, for sure.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Anyway, that was kind of like a little side tangent.
But totally relevant, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, while we're looking back, we could go as far back as past lives, as far future as, like, technology and sci-fi and all that. Because it's like, we don't know exactly what's happening, but we're definitely in a time of transition, I feel like,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, and I think we're, in that birth canal, and something's happening. And that's why I feel like the spiritual emergence support is so important, because there's so many people waking up, there's so many people coming into contact with their spiritual gifts, and having crises experiences and being hospitalized, or having the support and not necessarily needing to go that route, or not being forced to go that route. But definitely offering that service, I think, in this time is really, really important. And I've noticed that, especially like you said, with people with a lot of inquiries and wanting to find another way, an alternative
Yeah.
to the dominant paradigm.
Yeah. And something just popped in my head. Maybe you know a little bit more about it, but I remember reading something. It might have been by Rick Tarnas. But about this transit that we're in, are we in this like Saturn Uranus transit? Do you know?
I can't remember what transit we're in, but I know it's the same one.
That happened
Maybe
in the
it's in
'60s,
Minnesota.
right?
That happened in the 60s. Yeah,
I was
exactly.
thinking that was like Saturn Uranus. So all these structures, authority, and then Uranus kind of shaking all that up. Um,
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I used to be a lot more tracking the astrology, but since I started doing the Akashic, I've kind of veered in a different direction as far as modalities.
yeah,
But I know there's a lot of folks in PCC that are tracking it. A great, at least for personal transits, a great uh, resource that I use is Archetypal Explorer, which sends weekly and monthly emails about your personal transits. And I think that's a great resource. But as far as like transpersonal transits or collective transits, I feel like, yeah, we're definitely in one that we've seen before, but it's happening in a different way and in
different.
another
Yeah,
level. It's another octave, I think, too. Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
It's interesting. Yeah, it definitely seems like a lot of things. The structure and the authority are really getting shaken up and kind of crumbling.
Yes, exactly.
It's an interesting
Um,
time, and it's very chaotic, and it's making a lot of people uneasy and really kind of questioning everything. Of like, wait a minute, I kind of thought I had it all figured out, and now it's just totally it's upheaval. It's insanity at
mhm,
sometimes.
mhm. Yeah, it's really the deep questioning of, are the structures that are in place working? And if not, then what do we need to do to change them?
Hmm.
Internal and external revolution in a way. And can be a nonviolent revolution. What does that look like? And is there a way, like Bucky, one of my favorite Buckminster Fuller quotes is about like, instead of fighting the existing paradigm, you create a new paradigm that makes the old one obsolete.
It's a
And I
great
feel like
quote.
that is a great quote. It's one of my favorites. And I feel like that's what we're doing. Many of us HSPs, SEs, star seeds, however you want to frame what it is, light workers, whatever it is that we do, healers, are trying to build this new foundation and a new paradigm. And, I think receiving the vision one step at a time, and just for me, having the faith that I'll be guided along the way as to what I need to do to make that happen and continue to manifest it. So,
Yeah, there's another Buckminster Fuller quote. I don't know if it was like specifically by him, but my teacher Lenny always talked about it. I tried to look up the quote and I haven't found it, so I don't know if he just read it in a book and nobody's ever posted it. But he just
mm,
said that we're all just oh, what was it? Hold on. Yeah, we're all just here making small adjustments to the universe.
mm,
Like we don't need to,
mhm,
not every one of us has to like make these huge things, but we're just here to make small little adjustments to the universe and
mm.
our local, like our local communities and whatnot.
Exactly. I'm getting the vision of like a rudder on a boat. Like just a small movement can like shift the whole direction. So
Yeah.
yeah, it feels really good. And
Yeah.
then it also takes a lot of the pressure of feeling like, oh, we've got this huge burden of changing an entire like global paradigm. Like, no, just do our little part, which
Yeah.
is a big part because it's all connected. So, yeah,
Yeah. It caused huge ripples that we don't really know about.
hmm, it's
Yeah.
true.
I just got an email from a teacher saying he keeps running into people that like, I guess they've been telling him that they know me and I've
Mm,
created a lot of change and stuff in their life. And he's like, yeah, it's ironic. Like I just keep running into people that I guess you've had a huge impression on. I'm like, okay. Like
yeah.
I don't know that.
Exactly.
But
Yeah. Sometimes we don't realize the impact that we have, and the fact that we can, in all areas of our life, just walking out and interacting with someone at the store or on the street or whatever, like every moment is an opportunity for healing. It doesn't have to look a certain way. It can just be the energy that you walk around with,
hmm
whether you're grounded or whether you're struggling, but your heart is open despite that. Whether you're in a space that you feel like you're receiving guidance or you feel like you're looking for guidance, I feel like you said, it's about relationship. So,
hmm
we do that all the time. So,
yeah. 2018, about
yeah.
relationship.
Yes, exactly.
Huh. Awesome.
Hmm.
Well, I think like we're getting close to an hour.
Okay.
So yeah, maybe we'll wrap up. And I don't know, any last closing thoughts?
Just, honoring of the work that we've done and that we continue to do, and the passion and integrity and faith moving forward with the projects and collaborations, in the new year.
Love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
and be sure to stay tuned and check out some updates from Michelle and I. We're planning on hosting some spiritual emergence groups. So if that's interesting to you, we'll keep you posted. We'll have a landing page, or you could follow us on Setting Sun Wellness Facebook or Creating
Creating
Sacred
sacred space.
Space Facebook, and yeah, like our pages, and we'll catch you over there. Thanks so much.
Thank you.